things from this activity. We ask that you open our ears so that we may retain the invaluable knowledge. Open our minds for us to think wisely. Put us with understanding, cooperation, and peace in fulfilling our responsibilities. Open our hearts so that we may receive your everlasting love. And open our spirit so that we may know that you are with us all throughout the day. We ask all this in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Okay, so welcome everyone to the second part of our webinar series. For today's lecturer, she completed her Master of Arts in Education degree at Ateneo de Davao University and obtained her PhD in Development Research and Administration from the University of Southern Philippines, Davao City. She currently holds the position of Marketing Officer and Coordinator of International Linkages in the professional schools at the University of Mindanao and has served as a part-time professor since 2012. In addition, she boasts an impressive tenure of 28 years as a faculty member and administrator at the Brockenshaw College. In October 2021, she successfully concluded a research project entitled Health Risk Behaviors and Adherence to Antiretroviral Therapy of People Living in HIV in Mindanao, Philippines. Serving as the project leader, this research received funding of 500,000 from the Department of Science and Technology. Beyond her research endeavors, she actively contributes to the ethical aspects of healthcare and holds membership in two hospital ethics committees, the Brockenshaw Hospital Research Ethics Committee and the San Pedro Hospital Institutional Research Ethics Board. Additionally, she serves as an ethics committee member for the University of Mindanao Ethics Research Committee. She is indeed a notable person who contributes to the field through her international publication and expertise as a skilled statistician. Help me welcome Dr. Elizabeth M. Malonzo.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Doc.
Good
morning, Doc.
So,
Good morning po, Doc. Good morning, Doc.
Morning, Doc.
Good morning, Doc.
okay. So let me share my slide. Okay, can you see now the screen?
Yes, Doc.
Yes,
Okay.
Doc. Yes po, Doc.
So the task that I'm going to present now is approach to data analysis in basic and inferential statistics. So with this type of webinar, I would like everyone to participate because if I'm going to present, you'll be given the chance to question me because I'm going to ask questions within the presentation. So now we will start the presentation in approach to data analysis. So what is statistics and why is statistics? In statistics, you have to do data handling, management, analysis, and interpretation. So with this, you can define statistics as a branch of applied mathematics that deals with methods and procedures that systematize the collection, categorization, presentation, analysis, and interpretation of data. So as you can see the figure, statistics is a branch of knowledge or a branch of science where you do collection, presentation, and analysis. And in collecting the data, you do interview, you have questionnaires, you get observations, and you get records. For presentation, you can do it textual, tabular, or graphical. And for analysis, you have univariate, bivariate, and multivariate variables. So statistics is a data. And since it is a data, it has level of measurements. And this level of measurements is very important to appropriately test what statistical test will be used in its objective of your study. So these are nominal, ordinal, interval, and ratio. And this will be discussed more later in my presentation. So when you say data, it is any recorded information derived from counts, measurements, observations, interviews, experiments, and other techniques. The data originally measured are referred to as raw data. And there are other classification of data. So aside from the raw data, which is in their original form and structure, we have a group data. This group data is already placed in a tabular form. And we have the primary data, which is measured and gathered by the researcher. And the secondary data, these are any republication of data by another researcher or agency. So if you are going to get a data about the grades of PS students, you go to the registrar and ask for the data that is already a secondary data. Now, in handling, management, and analysis of statistics, you have to describe how the data is going to be analyzed. Who will be included in the analysis? That is your respondents. How will the data be encoded? So it is very important from the start of your data gathering is the questionnaire. That's why you cannot gather data if your questionnaire is not validated. Because in validation, we try to find out that the data to be encoded is valid. So with the items in the questionnaire. And what data will be encoded? So if it is a Likert scale, it should follow the format of a Likert scale if it is a 5-item Likert scale. Detail of the variables used and how this will be reported. Detailed plans for statistical analysis of primary and secondary outcome. And with these new trends of statistics, we have already statistical software that can readily measure, that can readily compute the bulk of data that you have presented or encoded. So we have software that are versions or licensed. And for us, we have SPSS. And you can have free license software like Jamovi. And you can download it in the website. So before we go on with the different concept of statistics, you have to know first the basic statistical terms, like a variable. So you're always asking in your Ed 203, Ed 201 classes, what is your variable of the study? So you may think, what is a variable? It is a specific attribute of a population under study that is the focus of the analysis. As the term implies, a variable is a characteristic that varies and can assume different or varying values. Now, if you have the variable and you are going to gather data, data are numbers, which can be measurements or can be obtained by counting. We may define data as figures, and figures result from the process of counting or from taking a measurement. Now, I have taken this example from one of our thesis in the PS, no? So the research objective is the study aim to determine the influence of empowerment and quality organizational relationships on teachers' working conditions among public elementary school teachers. Specifically, the study has the following objectives. But later, I will ask first, what are the variables of the study? So as you can see, there are 3 variables. And these variables are empowerment, quality organizational relationships, and teachers' working conditions. Now, may I ask, with the objective that I have presented, can you determine what research design will be used in this particular study?
Mediation, Doc.
What is it?
Regression analysis po.
Sige, answer.
Correlation
Descriptive,
analysis.
descriptive analysis.
Descriptive, what else?
Qualitative,
Doc.
Mediation, Doc.
Qualitative.
Descriptive,
po.
correlative,
Regression
descriptive,
correlational.
Relational.
Okay.
correlation.
You have so
Descriptive
many
correlational.
answers, no? But if you have the background of what the research is all about, because research is statistics is a tool for research. So tool siya for research ang statistics. If you have the background of the research concepts, based on the objective of the study, you can determine what research design in this particular study. So we have 3 identified variables in this study. Now, with the study aim to determine the influence. So with the term influence, if you know what is research design, you can determine already that this study design is regression. Okay? Correlation. Because regression is a higher part of correlation. This is a correlational study using regression analysis. Now, in a regression analysis, you can have 2 variables or you can have 3 variables. But in our professional school, we are no longer accepting thesis with only 2 variables. So it should be 3 or more variables. So in this type of study, what is empowerment? What type of variable is empowerment? And what type of variable is quality organizational relationships? And what type of variable is teachers' working conditions? Now, based on the objective of the study, you can determine the perceived cause and effect. So if it is a correlation, there is an association. But if it is already higher than correlation, there is already perceived cause and effect. Why did I say perceived? Because this is not experimental. This is a social science research. So you will say perceived cause and effect. So based on this study or objective, what will be the perceived cause and what will be the perceived effect? When you say perceived cause, that is the independent variable, and the perceived effect is the dependent variable. So in this study, what are the two independent variables?
Empowerment,
Environment and
And
working
organizational
conditions, Doc.
working condition.
Okay, very good, no? We have two independent variables. We have the empowerment and we have the organizational relationships. And the effect will be the teacher's working conditions. Okay, so it's good. You are participating. Now, these are the specific objectives. So, if you are going to have a title defense for your thesis, we will request you to have a downloaded questionnaires that have indicators. Okay? Since we have three variables, we have also specific objectives for each variables. So to assess, I cannot see this one. So to assess the empowerment of public elementary school teachers in terms of, so these are the indicators, meaning competence, self-determination, and impact. Then objective number 2, to assess the level of teachers' working conditions among public school teachers in terms of, okay? The number 3, to assess the level of quality organizational relationships. And this is the 4th and 5th objectives, to evaluate the significant relationship between empowerment and quality organizational relationship, empowerment and teachers' working condition, and teachers' working condition and quality organizational relationship. And the last objective is to determine the influence of empowerment and quality organizational relationship on teachers' working conditions among public elementary school teachers. So, why I am asking this one? Because in the objective of your study, you are categorizing your objectives in terms of what statistical tool will be used. So we have two major areas of statistics. We have descriptive and inferential. So when you say descriptive, it is concerned with the methods for collecting, organizing, and describing a set of data so as to yield meaningful information. So with this descriptive statistics, what particular word can you determine that is descriptive? What is descriptive statistics?
Describing.
Describing
Okay,
a set of
you
data.
describe a set of data. So when you are just describing, that is descriptive statistics. And the other major area of statistics is the inferential. Inferential statistics comprises those procedures for drawing inferences or making generalizations about characteristics of a population based on partial and incomplete information obtained from a sample of the population. So, from the word inferential, what particular word you will determine that is inferential statistic?
Drawing inferences or making generalizations, Doc.
Okay, very good. You draw inferences, you infer, you conclude. Okay, knowing the two major areas of statistics, you have to know your data. For objectives 1 to 4, these are descriptive statistics. For every objective 1 to, that is only 1 to 3. I'm sorry. You have only 5, no? So 1 to 3. These are descriptive statistics. And in every objective, there is a particular statistical tool that will answer the objective of your study. For objective number 4 to 5, that is inferential statistics. And the question is, what type of descriptive statistics for that particular objective? And what type of inferential statistics for that particular objective? Now, levels of measurement. The level of measurement of a given set of data has something to do with the relationship among the values that are assigned to the specific observation of a variable. The level of measurement is very important in determining the appropriate statistical test to be used in your specific objectives. Okay. Now, we have types and levels of data. These are the discrete data. Okay, remember our level of measurement, the nominal, the ordinal, the interval, and the ratio. So when you say nominal, these are categorical variables and this has no ranking. Example, sex, marital status, religious affiliation. These are examples of nominal data. You can categorize sex as male and female. You can categorize marital status, single, married, widowed, but there is no ranking. In the ordinal data, these are measures, some attributes using a finite number of ordered categories. For example, Likert scale. Usually, the questionnaires of the students in the professional schools are using Likert scale. And we have 1, agree, strongly agree, neither agree, disagree, or strongly disagree, or baliktad. 1 is strongly disagree, 2 is disagree, 3 is neither disagree nor disagree, and 5 is strongly agree. This is the amount of change represented by the difference is not constant and cannot represent a magnitude of change. Now, what is continuous data? These are the interval data and the ratio data. What is the difference between interval and ratio data? In the interval, it has an arbitrary 0, but not absolute. Example, temperature. Di ba we have a 0 degree Celsius?
Yes.
Okay. Why not absolute? It's not absolute because if it is 0, we can still feel the temperature. And that is very cold. So that is what is meant by not absolute. So that is an interval data. Score. If a student got a 0 score, it doesn't mean na wala talaga siyang equivalent grade. There is an equivalent grade for a 0 score, which is a failing grade. Okay? For the ratio, 0 point is absolute. So we have an example of temperature in the interval data, which is 0 degrees Celsius. And again, I make an example of the ratio, which 0 is absolute. The absolute 0 in the temperature is negative 273 degrees Celsius. What does it mean? In that particular temperature, there are no more minute bacteria, viruses, or anything that will be alive. All is dead in that particular temperature. So wala na talaga, wala ka nang makita, wala ka nang ma-feel. So that is absolute. Wait, is weight an absolute?
Yes.
Huh? How can it be an absolute?
No. Ano naman siya, ma'am?
Measurement.
Mauna yun to imuhang actual weight. You cannot say na,
Exact.
I'm 80, but pwedeng mahimong less than 80. If it is
How can you
taken
say that
actually,
there
ma'am.
Exact figure.
There is a 0 weight?
Yeah.
No.
I
Where?
don't know zero weight po.
No zero weight, Doc.
Are you
No.
sure?
Kaya meron, ma'am. Doon sa weighing scale, merong zero doon. Yun ang point na pag mag-ano tayo sa weighing scale, may inilagay tayo doon sa weight, mag-move yun sa actual na weight nung thing or tao na nag-ano doon sa weighing scale.
For
And-
weight,
Okay, when you say
Ah,
weight
Doc,
is
for weight,
0,
Doc is point of reference.
Doc,
yes?
for weight po, Doc, is either desirable, normal, overweight, or obese. So you can classify that based on the person's height po.
Okay. We are
BMI
talking here of absolute 0.
Yes.
So you have a reference point in the swaying scale, which is
Yes.
0.
Yes po.
And that is not absolute. When
Mm.
can a weight be absolute?
Mm.
Meaning,
When
wala
it
ka na
reach-
talagang weight.
Exact weight, Doc.
You are in the moon.
Okay. Ha? Okay.
Gravity.
Di ba we are made up of matter? Our body is made up of matter.
Yes po.
And
Yes
when you
po.
define weight according to physics, that
Yes
is
po.
with regards to the gravitational pull of the earth. Will
That's
Wait,
you?
first talk about sa gravity.
Okay. Now,
Wait.
there is an absolute zero for weight if you are beyond the gravitational pull of the earth. And where is that?
We're in the moon. You're in the moon.
In space.
Space.
In
Without
space.
Opo.
Okay, that
Out of
is
space.
absolute. Wala ka na talagang weight dito. Because we have a different definition of weight. And when you say, what is your weight? You will say 160
Mass.
kilograms, no? So actually, that is the measure of matter in your body. What I'm trying to say now is when you say ratio, there is a zero that is absolute. Yung wala na talaga. Diba? Yung score may zero, pero meron siyang equivalent na grade. Pero when you say zero, wala na talagang makita, wala talagang ma-feel, wala lahat. Okay. Similarities between interval and ratio. There is a magnitude of difference between this interval and ratio. But in data handling and managing your data, interval and ratio will be treated the same. What type of data is this? Is this interval or this is ratio? So you have to take note the very important level of measurement in handling your data. Because as I've said, this level of measurement will determine what particular appropriate statistical test will be used in every objective of your study. Okay? Now, these are the levels of measurement classification order, equal, and absolute zero. This is the summary of all the things we have discussed. When you say nominal, is it classified? Yes. Is there an order? No. Is there an equal limit? No. Is it absolute zero? No. If you say ordinal, is it you can classify it? Yes. Is there an order? Yes. Is there an equal limit? No. Is an absolute zero? No. In the interval, you can still classify like strongly agree, disagree. So is there an order? There is. There is an equal limit because you have a range, and there is no absolute zero. But for ratio, it can be classified. There is an order, there is an equal limit, and there is an absolute zero. So based on this level of measurement, what is the highest level of measurement?
Ratio.
Ratio.
The ratio. The ratio. And with this particular level of measurement, you can identify now what statistical test you are going to use based on the data that you are gathering. Okay, look at this example. So we have the stand on abortion issue. That is the variable. We have the classification in favor, undecided, not in favor. And we put measurements. That is the numerical value. Okay. When you just say in favor, undecided, not in favor, that is a nominal data. But if you place a number which has a numerical value, that is already an interval data. Okay. General considerations. When you say descriptive, these are measures of central tendency. And usually, the measure is mean, median, and the mode. And you are usually using the mean, or the other term is average, a value that results from summing the values and dividing the sum by the number of observation in the set. You usually report it as X. Now, when you say central tendency, it is a property of the data that they tend to be clustered about a center point. So you say measure of central tendency include the mean. That is the average of the data. The median is the value that divides the set of data into two equal parts. It is the midpoint of the data set. So you have learned from your statistics how to compute the median. You have to arrange from highest to lowest or lowest to highest. And if it is an even number, you have to divide the two most innermost number, divide by 2, that is your median. If it is an odd number, the middlemost number is your median. And the mode is the most common value in the data set. So if there are two numbers that are seen in the data, that is the mode. Now, dispersion. Dispersion is the property of the data that they tend to be spread out. And the measures of dispersion include range, variance, and standard deviation. So for the researchers, usually we use the standard deviation. Why? Because the standard deviation is the value that describes the distribution of values in a data set by comparing its value to the mean. An increase in standard deviation means an increase in variation. That is more spread. A decrease in standard deviation, means that the data is more consistent. So, in your computation of the standard deviation, if the standard deviation is less than 1, meaning there is a consistent response from your respondents. So if you use the Likert scale, maybe majority of your respondent answers 4, 5, 4, 5, 3, 4, 5. So consistent. So the standard deviation is not so varied. So it is less. If the standard deviation is more than 1, so there is a varied answer or varied response from your respondents. So maybe one respondent will answer 1, maybe one respondent will answer 5. So the result will be a bigger value of the standard deviation. So different varied response from your respondents. The coefficient of variation, it is equal to 100%. And this compared data sets that have more spread to the mean. Now, when you say parameter, what is a parameter? A numerical value computed from a population. Example, if the mean age of all the 250 graduate school students were computed, then the resulting value would be a parameter. And if we base it on a parameter, we have two categories of parameter. That is parametric statistical tool and the non-parametric statistical tool. Last series of webinar, Dr. Montaño has presented to you the non-parametric statistical tool. And now, I'm presenting to you the parametric statistical tool, which generally assume that the data under consideration are normally distributed and are at least in the interval level of measurement. What do you mean by normally distributed? So when you graph your data, you have a normal curve. That normal curve will represent that your data is parametric and the appropriate statistical test that will be used is parametric statistical tool. That's why in parametric statistics, which we will use regression, which we will use mediation, which we will use structural equation model, we have to have more than 200 respondents to have that data. Because if you're going to graph it, that will have a normal distribution. In non-parametric tests, as Dr. Montaño has explained, it has less number of respondents. So there is a certain test in the software that will determine if your data is normally distributed or not. 30 respondents. But to be sure, you have to test if the 30 respondents is normally distributed. So if it is less than 30, the trend will be there is no normal distribution. It will be skewed to the right or skewed to the left graph. It is not having a normal or bell shape. So when you have non-parametric statistical tool, this is not as rigid as the parametric tools in terms of the requirements for its application. In fact, these tools can be used to make decisions about the population even if the sample are not normally distributed. So we are always talking of a population. So what is a population in terms of data? When you say population, it is a set of persons, animals, events, or things that are the main concern of a certain research or experiment. Example, all masteral students in the professional schools or all principals in the basic education. So you have all, but there is a parameter, masteral students, all principals in the basic education. Okay, that is already termed as a population. Now, why do you think that when you conduct research, you will not usually use population? You will just use sampling in your research to be conducted. Because if you have, for example, in region, in Davao City only, we have, I think, 3 million, no? Residents in Davao City. That is the population. But there is certain parameter. So let us say all principals in Davao City, but that is still many, or all principals in Region 11. So if we say principals in Region 11 is about 2,000. So for the researcher, it is not, what can you say, financially, what's this? Parang financially
Stable.
mas expensive siya, di ba? And you can have more time to do your population in getting all the 2,000 principals in the whole region. So that's why you do sampling. Okay? The process of selecting the sample or the study units from a previously defined population, and that is sampling. Now, sampling procedure is the way of selecting a part of the population to enable researchers to make reliable inferences about the nature of the population. The list of units from which we draw the sample in any sampling procedure is called the sampling frame. Now, if you do sampling, you have to do random sample. A sample chosen from the population in such a way that each possible sample of a given size has an equal chance of being selected. And all the members of the population have an equal and independent chance of being selected into the sample. Okay, so you see, random sampling, if everybody has an equal chance of being selected. Take note of that. Later, I will discuss that one. Okay, these are the probability sampling procedures. We have simple random sampling, systematic random sampling, stratified random sampling, cluster random sampling, and multi-stage sampling. So when you say simple random sampling, where everybody will be given a chance to be selected. So when you say simple, for example, 100, you have 100 population. You do simple random sampling. You can do draw lots, okay? In drawing the lots, you place all the names, then you draw, let us say your sample is 30. So you draw 30 names out of the 100. So everybody in that names has a chance, equal chance to be selected. Okay. Systematic random sampling. So when you do systematic random sampling, from the word system, there is a system. Okay, for a faculty, and his respondents are his students. So to make it systematic, he will list all the students that will be the population of his study. Then to do systematic random sampling, he will get all the odd numbers. The names that has an odd numbers will be his sample. Okay, there is a system to be followed. Stratified random sampling. So stratified, from the word stratified, there is a strata. Okay, a good example is if your respondents are high school students, first year to fourth year. So that first year level is a strata. First year, second year, third year, fourth year. Now, how to do stratified sampling? So, di ba, in different year levels, there are different populations. So to make it stratified, you get a number of percentage. So for all the year levels, you get 50% of each strata. That is stratified sampling. So with the usual conduct of survey in our masteral or doctoral students, we usually use the stratified sampling. Why? Because our population is region 11. So it's a very huge population. So you stratified it according to regions. So the strata is the region. And how will you do it? Then there are so many public schools in each region. So you stratify it again, make a percentage of the population that you're going to get, because remember, there is a population frame. So all teachers teaching mathematics, so that is your population frame, and that is the one that you're going to get a sample. So you stratify it. Now, cluster random sampling. What is the difference between cluster and stratified? So when you say cluster, again, I go back to my example of the year levels in the basic education, in the high school. So there are 4 levels. Each level is also a cluster. Diba? Yung kanina, each level is also a strata. Now, what is the difference? Now, in the cluster random sampling, you are going to make it simple. So using the simplified random sampling, you are going to draw lots of all first year, second year, third year, fourth year. And if you have just a sample size of 2 levels, so you draw lots. If you get first year students, first year level, that will be your sample. Then you get fourth year levels, all the students in that particular level will be your sample size. Diba? So mas madali yung cluster kaysa stratified. But usually, students are using stratified sampling in our master's and doctoral program. Okay, multi-stage sampling. In the multi-stage sampling, there are already a huge number of population that you are going to have a sample size. A good example for this multi-stage sampling is using the SWS survey during election time. Remember, there are 110 million Filipinos, and the SWS survey will just survey about 1,200 people. And they will say that the trending of the survey is Duterte is number 1, Lacson is number 2, and usually their prediction will be true. Mananalo talaga based on their prediction because they are using multi-stage sampling. So sa kanila na yun, paano na random talaga, that everybody will be given a chance to be selected as a respondent. Now, going back to stratified random sampling, students will usually say in the final defense of their study that they use stratified random sampling. But we cannot monitor how the students distribute their questionnaires. They will say, for example, oy, ang siri na lang ni B para mahuman na niya akong questionnaire. Is that stratified? Is
No,
everybody
ma'am.
will be given a chance to be selected? So, usually, a reality is that students will not follow stratified random sampling. But what is the impact? When you do random sampling, the result there will be generalization. You generalize your finding. If you do it na ang imo lang tagaan, imong friends, imong kaila, kanang duol sa inyo, when we ask, why did you choose this particular place as your respondents? Kay duol man sa akong eskwelahan, ma'am. Kay duol, naaman ko dito nag-teach, which is not correct. No? Because the findings of your study will be generalized. For example, you have a study about satisfaction of the teaching strategy, no, of your school, and you will just give the questionnaire na katong kailan ni mga estudyante. So the result will be very very satisfied ang mga students kay kaila man nimo. So that is not random sampling, and you cannot generalize your findings out of that sampling. And that is already bias. Okay? Probability sampling procedure is not bias. Why? Because you are going to generalize your findings. And you cannot generalize it if you do not follow the correct procedure of data handling. Okay? Now, why I'm saying this? Because there is another type of sampling, the non-probability sampling procedure. And usually, this non-probability sampling procedure will be used for qualitative research. In qualitative research, you just have a small size of your participant, less than 20. So, hindi na kailangan na random sampling because in non-probability sampling, the researcher is biased. He will be the one to select her participants. Example, convenience or accidental sampling. So when you conduct research that is qualitative, you are going to get the feel of the students about the online method of mode or modality in teaching at PS. So when you say convenience, yung papasok na estudyante, yun ang interview mo. Oh, gusto mo ba ng distance education? Gusto mo ba ng online learning modality? So yun, pipiliin niya kung sino lang yung gusto niya. Yun ang convenience sampling. Quota sampling, if you have, like for example, very big population. So, a very big population like 3,000. So, you just make a quota of 100. So, with that 100 or less than 100, you choose your participant. Purposive or judgmental sampling. So, if your study is about people with HIV, no? So, yun lang ang i-interview mo. That is purposive sampling. Snowball sampling, it is also called the chain referral or referential sampling. If you have to conduct a qualitative research where you do not know how to contact your respondents, you just only know one participant. So that one participant will refer you to another participant with the same understanding. And that is snowball sampling. So that is the difference between probability and non-probability sampling procedures. Okay, how are you going to collect your data? So these are methods like administration of tests, scales, and questionnaires. You conduct interviews, you conduct focus group discussion, you do observations, and you get records. That is method of data collection. Now, as researchers, we are going to diagnose the problem. And based on the problem, we have to specify statistical tests, retrieve the analysis results, interpret the analysis result. Okay? Take note, for the statistical test, you need a statistician to analyze your result. And it will be the researcher who will interpret the results of your study, not the statistician. Okay, interpreting results, the p-value approach. Alternative to classical approach, this is called tabular approach. And the focus, another one is the focus is on the probability or p-value that you would be wrong if you reject the hypothesis, not on the computed and standard test statistic. Okay, what is the difference between tabular approach and p-value approach? The tabular approach is the old means of computing for the result, if it is significant or not significant. That is my time before we compute, no? Using a table in the book, we compare our computed result on the tabular value on the book, and we can determine if the result of our study is significant or not. I don't know if they are still using a tabular approach, because we have already so many softwares now that will determine kaagad if the findings of your study is significant or not. Okay? We have the SPSS, which you can determine kaagad the p-value, which is significant or not. Now, how will you determine? Generate a p-value of a certain test, compare the p-value to the level of significance, which is usually 0.05. So if the p-value is less than 0.05, the result of the test is significant, and you are going to reject the hypothesis. And if the result of the value is greater than 0.05, you do not reject your null hypothesis. Okay, these are the general considerations. Now, testing hypothesis using statistics. I'm sorry, katul kaya akong ilong, pito lang ha. Okay. Testing hypothesis using statistics. There are mathematical techniques to compare differences or to determine relationships. Determine the probability that the difference between the comparison groups occurred because of sampling variability. The null hypothesis. When you say null, there are no difference between groups. When you say alternate or alternative hypothesis, difference exists between the groups being compared, and the effect and difference is not due to chance. There are statistical treatment that you should decide to reject either or to accept the null hypothesis. You can ask, is it statistically significant or not? Or you can do statistical computation like the tabular approach, or you use softwares. We have the Stata, SPSS, Jamovi, which are statistical softwares for computing very big data. Now, the statistical significance, as I've told you, the p-value of less than 0.05 is considered as a general rule. You reject the null hypothesis if it is less than 0.05, or accept if it is more than 0.05. Now, the confidence interval, the CI, represent the possible value for the true difference between intervention. If the study will be repeated many times, 95 out of 100 confidence interval constituted using this method would contain the true mean difference. When you say true difference between groups, it lies within the reported interval. And the 95% is the accepted level to determine statistical significance. Okay. Common statistical tests. So we have categorical variables or nominal variables are analyzed using chi-square tests. So these are statistical tests that is less than, when I say that do not follow the normal distribution curve. Okay? So when you say nominal, that is categorized, no ranking. So you have a sample size, you have to use chi-square test or Fisher exact test or Mantel-Hansel test and McNemar test. I think this is discussed by Dr. Montaño last meeting, the non-parametric statistical tool. The ordinal variables, if it is not normally distributed, you can use Mann-Whitney, Wilcoxon rank. For example, stress management of students, student satisfaction. If there are more than 2 groups, you can use Kruskal-Wallis test. Now, if you use continuous variable, which is the interval and ratio, you have to use the student t-test, which compares the means of 2 groups. You have 2 sample t-tests, 2 groups of students, 1 sample t-test, 2 sets of observations taken from a single sample. And if it is more than 2 groups, you use ANOVA. Okay, in the ANOVA, statistical difference between groups do not reveal which specific groups will differ. Okay, now we will discuss about bivariate, multivariate analysis. When you say bivariate, these are 2 variables. When you say multivariate, these are more than 2 variables. Okay, understanding which analysis is to use help us to navigate through the type of data that we have collected. Now, when you say bivariate analysis, it allows you to study the relationship between 2 variables and has many practical uses in the real life. And you can also aim to find out whether there exists an association between the variables and what is its strength. To test a hypothesis of association and causality, it also helps you to predict the values of a dependent variable based on the changes of an independent variable. So these are the different functions of a bivariate analysis. Now, bivariate analysis allows us to answer 2 questions. Is there a relationship between the 2 variables? If so, what is the pattern or direction of the relationship? Now, we have to go higher rather than doing relationship. And this is the regression analysis. It is the study of the relationship between variables. We have the dependent and we have the independent variable. When we say dependent variable, it is the single variable being explained, predicted by the regression model, or it is called response variable. The independent variable is the explanatory variable used to predict the dependent variable, and it is the predictor variable. Okay, association between 2 variables. Regression is useful when we want to look for significant relationships between 2 variables or predict a value of one variable for a given value of the other. It involves estimating the line of best fit through the data, which minimizes the sum of the squared residuals. Okay, when we say multiple regression, it is more than 2 variables. A statistical technique that uses 2 or more explanatory or independent variables to predict the outcome or response or dependent variable. In contrast, the simple linear regression establishes the relationship between 2 variables only, one independent and one dependent. Now, so you have here you have the dependent and independent variable one-on-one. But if you have multiple regression, you can have two or more independent variable and one dependent variable. Now, why should we use regression analysis in research? So that we can describe the relationship between a set of independent variables and the dependent variable. To produce a regression equation where the coefficients represent the relationship between each independent variable and the dependent variable. Now, one statistical tool to be used in testing association or relationship is the Pearson R. The Pearson R is a coefficient which is defined in statistics as the measurement of the strength of the relationship between two variables and their association with each other. In simple words, it is the common method to use for numerical values. It calculates the effect of change in one variable when the other variable changes. Note, if the research design is correlational analysis, Pearson R is one of the tools that can be used for that particular research. Now, there are types of correlation. We have the positive correlation. One variable increase, the other variable also increases. There is a direct increase, no? Example, the more you engage in exercise, the better you have mental and physical well-being. The other one is negative correlation, indirectly proportional. One variable increases, the other one decreases. Example, the less you eat fatty foods, the higher is the probability of a healthy body. Okay? And we have also, the no correlation. One variable does not affect to the other variable. Example, students who submit their activities late due to poor internet connectivity does not affect their overall performance in the online class. So that is no correlation. Example. Therefore, there is no correlation between the late submission of the activities and the overall performance of the students in the online class. Okay, correlation interpretation. You have this one is very important in interpreting the results of your regression analysis. So we have the correlation coefficient value. If it is negative 0.3 to positive 0.3, the relationship is weak. If it is negative 0.5 to negative 0.3 or positive 0.3 to positive 0.5, the relationship is moderate. If it is negative 0.9 to negative 0.5 or positive correlation 0.5 to 0.9, there is a strong relationship. If it is negative 1 to 0.9 or positive 0.9 to 1, there is a very strong relationship. Now, there is another type of test, which is the Spearman rho. The Spearman rho is symbolized the Greek letter P or rho, a close cousin of the common use Pearson regression. However, whereas the Pearson statistics assess the relationship between two continuous variables gathered from a data sample, the Spearman rho correlation assess the relationship between two rankings. So using the value range negative to positive 1 as the Pearson regression. So in the Spearman rho, there is a rank. It is the non-parametric version of the Pearson product moment correlation. It is also a tool used for correlation analysis if the scores are not normally distributed. Now, we go back to our sample, the one that I have given you kanina, objective number 3. To assess the level of quality organizational relationships among public school teachers in terms of justice, fairness, good faith, and trust. Now, what is the type of analysis in this objective? Is it descriptive or inferential?
Descriptive, ma'am.
Descriptive.
Okay. Will you answer descriptive? Why?
Because dili man nato
Wala po
ma-measure
kayo
ang justice, ma'am, ang fairness, ang faith, and trust.
No,
You're
you can
talking
measure
about
it
the
because you have
Numerically, dili nato
a
siya.
questionnaire.
Only the levels
Sa
po,
mga,
ma'am.
of measurements
levels
po
po,
or
ma'am.
numbers
dapat siya record skill ba
determine
para
the level
makuha
po.
ang data sa upat.
Okay. Remember yung kanina, yung definition natin sa descriptive? What is the most common word there that you will say this is descriptive analysis?
Describe.
Describe
Right.
data, Doc.
Just
Inferential to Doc, kasi
describe.
to
Oh,
assess.
inferential.
To assess
Yeah.
kasi to,
You just
inferential to
describe
assess.
the level of quality.
Hmm.
So that's
Assess.
why the type of analysis to be used is descriptive. Okay?
It is
Now, the
correct.
variables of the study, you have level of quality, organizational relationship with the following indicators: justice, fairness, good faith, and trust. And whatever the result there, you just describe, no,
Okay.
the following variables. So, what is the level of scale measurement?
5-point scale.
Five.
We have the four
1.5
level scale of
Five-
measurement:
five-
ordinal,
5 point.
nominal, interval, and ratio. Usually, this type of measurement use what? Likert
Yeah.
scale.
Likert scale.
Likert, ma'am.
So, we
Verbal.
use the interval scale of measurement. And what is the statistical tool?
Weighted mean.
Mean po.
Mean.
Okay, very
Mean.
good. And aside from the mean,
Standard
the type of
deviation.
dispersion.
Standard deviation.
Three.
Okay, the standard deviation. Very good. Okay. In objective number 4, we have this objective: to evaluate the significant relationship. Okay? What is the type of analysis?
Correlational.
Correlation.
Descriptive, correlational.
Ay, sorry,
Correlation.
it's not descriptive, ha? It's correlational. Namali ako. Okay. When you say significant relationship, it is correlational. And the variables of the study, we have 3 variables: empowerment, quality, and teachers' working conditions. Okay, the level of scale of measurement,
The Pearson moment correlation.
no, the level of
Pearson.
scale. We are not yet on the statistical tool.
The 5.
Interval.
Interval pa rin, ma'am.
Interval
po.
And the statistical tool,
Pearson R po.
Pearson moment correlation.
okay, very good. Objective number 5, determine the influence of empowerment and quality organizational relationship on teachers working among public school teachers. Type of analysis?
Differential.
True.
Descriptive.
I'm
Regressional.
asking you kanina.
Regressional and regression.
Okay. That is correlation and that is predictive under predictive analysis, because you're going to use regression analysis. So variables, you have the 3 variables. And what is the level of scale of measurement?
Interval, ma'am.
Interval. And what is the statistical tool?
Pearson R. Mangyapon siguro niya.
Spearman
When you
rule.
use person R, that is just
Regression
correlation.
analysis. Regression analysis.
Okay. Regression. You use the term influence, predictor, determinants if your study is about regression. If your
Yes.
study is mediating, there is another webinar series for that in July 27. Next webinar series, will be about exploratory factor analysis. I'm just up to regression because my part is basic and inferential statistics, because there is a different webinar for mutation and structural equation model. So this is our objective number 3. Now, the result. Hindi siya klaro, no? Our
Hindi
objective
masyado.
number 3 is descriptive. So using the data, I try to get the result. And this is the result of the different indicators. So based on the result, what indicators have the lowest and highest mean? So this is how you are going to interpret when you are going to write your thesis. Because in one particular variable, there are so many indicators. So you just cannot explain all the result in each indicator. You just explain or discuss which indicator have the lowest and highest mean. So in this particular example, which has the lowest mean?
Justice.
Justice po, ma'am.
Justice.
Okay,
Justice.
justice, which has a mean of 3.99.
3.99.
And what is the highest mean?
Trust, 4.16.
4.16.
Yeah, these are just the indicators that you are going to explain. And one more, because our research or our thesis writing is results and discussions. So you discuss, are these results similar to what others have found out or not? So this comes your related literature. So you are going to browse again the related literature of your study if these findings are similar or not similar to the findings of the other studies. That is how you are going to interpret with a descriptive type of statistics. Okay? Now, objective number 4, to evaluate the significant relationship. So again, this is not descriptive, but this is already inferential, which is a correlational type of analysis. Now, this is the result. Okay. Now take note, there is an asterisk, no? And there is a close and open parenthesis. The asterisk is the correlation coefficient. Diba? Remember our correlation coefficient interpretation here? Ay, andali lang ha. Ano yun? Ito. Okay. Remember this one? We have a negative and positive correlation. That is very important in interpreting your study, no? So you have to take note of how strong or how weak is the relationship of your variables. Okay? The correlation coefficient. Okay, with the result of our study, okay, this one. So, for justice, 0.818. And there is an asterisk. The asterisk means what?
There is
Huh?
My
Okay, the 0.00 is the p-value. What's that mean? The p point.
Relationship between the significant po. There is a
Okay, is it less
high
than
relationship.
0.05?
Yes.
yes po.
Yes.
Okay. So if it is less than 0.05, that is significant.
Significant.
And what is the correlation coefficient interpretation? 0.818. So negative 9 to 1 is what?
Weak.
Weak, moderate, strong correlation.
Strong.
It is almost 1.
very
Wrong.
very strong.
Okay, very strong
strong.
correlation. And there is a significant relationship between teachers' working condition in terms of justice. Okay, what does the result of 0.818 in justice mean? And what does 0.00 mean? So there is a very strong association or correlation with justice and teachers' working condition. Ay, naman din. So this is 0.8. It's very strong, no? Very strong correlation. So meaning 0.818 means a robust correlation between teachers' working conditions and quality organizational relationship of public elementary school teachers. And 0.00 means there is a significant relationship between teachers' working conditions and quality organizational relationship of public elementary school teacher. So in objective number 5, to determine the influence of empowerment and quality organizational relationship of teachers. Okay? So this is the result. This is taken from the SPSS. So we have here the standardized and unstandardized beta here. We have the T value, we have the P value, we have the R square, and we have the adjusted R square, we have the F and the P value. Okay, how are you going to interpret this one? Shown in table 5 is the multiple regression analysis of empowerment and quality organizational relationships to the teacher's working conditions. Taking into consideration some indicators of empowerment and quality organizational relationship showed a significant relationship. Why? Why there is a significant relationship? Because the p-value of empowerment is 0.008. The p-value of quality organizational relationship is 0.007. And the overall p-value here sa baba is 0.00. Okay. Now, also, these variables account for approximately 72.9% of the variance. Now, where did I get 72.9%? Look at here. 0.729. This is the adjusted R square. So 72.9% of the variance in the teacher's working condition. Thus, 27.1% of the variation can be attributed to the factors other than these two independent variables considered. R square means a goodness of fit measure for linear regression models. This statistic indicates the percentage of the variance in the dependent variable that the independent variables explain collectively. R squared measures the strength of the relationship between your model and the dependent variable on a convenient 0 to 100 scale. So that's why we have here 0.729 in percentage, that is 72.9%. Okay? So that ends my presentation and I will entertain questions.
Ay, ila po, Doc, can we request the soft copy? Putol kasi dito ang connection.
Okay.
Pwede makakuha ng soft copy, Doc.
Okay. Stop share.
Sure, Doc.
Okay. So did you learn
Yes,
about my
a lot, Doc.
presentation?
Yes, Doc.
Yes
Dami
po, Doc.
kong alam, Doc.
Yes po, Doc.
But there are still others who
Dahil
maybe
po
cannot
dito, gusto niyo
understand.
ba, Doc?
Yes, Doc.
Okay, any questions?
No question.
So this is just the start, no? This is basic and inferential. You still have many things to learn more. when we have our exploratory factor analysis, when we have our mediation and structural equation model. Okay, do I have to entertain more questions?
Yung soft copy, Doc, and we have a copy of your presentation this morning.
Okay, sige.
Doc, not accepting responses daw po yung attendance, Doc. Thank you.
Okay. So I'm thankful that you understand a lot of my presentation, and that will comprise the whole basic and inferential statistics concepts. Because if you cannot understand the concept, you will not learn what statistical tool you are going to use in every objective of your study. Do not just depend on the statistician. That's why in your thesis, you have statistical analysis, meaning what statistical tool you're going to use in every objective of your study. Because the findings of your study will be very important of your whole thesis. Okay? Jessa, tapos na tayo, Jessa? Yes.
Yung attendance po, not accepting responses po, ma'am.
Mag-ano daw kayo? Attendance. Attendance here.
Good morning po.
Ma'am,
I've tried already the
nagadawat ang
attendance.
isa ka link po. Ang
Then sa
isang link po yung hindi.
last link po, you're just
Okay.
going to copy it and paste it on the Google. Then it's going to accept.
Okay, are we done? Thank you very much for listening, and thank you very much for understanding.
Thank you,
So
Dr.
fill out the
Doc,
attendance
can we have your
evaluation.
PPT po, Doc?
Okay, how can we
Okay.
get the PPT po?
Upload na po, Doc.
Please. Thank you.
Yeah, I will just give it to, I will just post it in the LMS. I don't know how to give you a copy.
It can be posted here, Doki. It can be downloaded here in the group chat. Attached file.
Okay. Sige, sige.
Okay, thank you po.
Okay.
So, Doc.
Yeah.
Oh, lagi. Wala po pa kayo dito eh.
Diba?
Reggie, are you there, Reg? Reggie? Reg? Jessa?
Yes, ma'am.
I don't know how to place it in the group chat. My presentation.
Mag-fill up lang sila ng attendance form, ma'am. Ako mag-send sa ilahan ng PowerPoint nimo.
Okay. When you fill up the attendance sheet, you will be given the copy of my presentation.
Done na po.
Just
Noted,
fill out.
Thank you po, Doki.
Okay.
Pa-email na lang, ma'am, sa
Thank you.
PowerPoint.
Thank you, Doc.
Tanawa sa CR siya. Yan to ra ka. Sige wala ha.
Okay, if you're done with the attendance, filling out the attendance and evaluation form, you can leave the website webinar already.
Okay,
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Doc.
Salamat,
Okay.
Doc.
Thank you, Doc.
Thank you,
Thank you
Doc.
so much, Doc.
Welcome. So please fill out the attendance form and the evaluation form.
bless.
Pwede mo to sa notebook siya. Siya na ako notebook pa pangitagod ba.
Raise your hand. Sir Pindaton, you have a question?
Thank you, Doc.
You have a question, sir? What is your question, sir? We cannot hear you. May question ka, sir?
Hello. Ten 753. 10-7.
Thank you, Doc.
Lang.
Hello, ma'am.
Yes.
Kining bali mo rag tulo o upat ka section na miss na ko sa subject ma'am ba kay dili mo ko balo mo nabigit sa kuan kay first time na ko aning ani blended learning bang internet. Makakaya pa ka ko mo cope up sa mga subject.
Who is your professor?
Sa
Who is,
nga subject,
uh-uh.
ikaw ma'am, Elizabeth Malonzo.
But I have given you a requirement. You have to have a portfolio.
Ako lang to i-submit.
You did not open your LMS?
Wala pa kayo ko ka kuan kay ga kuan pa ko ga kining murag gatuon pa ba?
Just message me. Sige. I-message lang ko.
Sige sige.
Thank you po, Doc.
Thanks, Doc. Yes. Welcome.
Thank you po, Doc. Permission to leave po.
Yes, you can leave if you have already signed the attendance and the valuation.
Thank you po, Doc.
Good morning po, Doc. Hello?
Yes, what is it?
Ay, Doc. Same with sir. My concern po is, for previous po nyo na mga activities given, hindi po ako nakasubmit. Then, what happened po, while I'm checking on my BBL account, the attempt taken is not granted po kasi na po ang date, so na deadline na po. So like I think po I missed 300 points ba to, pila to ka points. Then
Sige, you just PM me, ma'am. We will
anong
talk
account
privately.
sa anong account po, Doc, gagamitin ko po, Doc? Kasi nagme-message po ako doon sa ating BBL, Doc.
Yung sa group chat.
Sa group chat. Oh, yes po, Doc. Nag-message po ako doon, Doc.
Sige, later na lang.
Okay,
I
thank
will
you po,
message
Doc.
you.
Okay, thank you po, Doc.
Permission to leave po, Doc. Thank you po.
Yes, okay. Welcome.
Thank you po, Doc.
Permission to leave po, Doc. Thank you po.
Doc, thank you so much. Suman akong evaluate.
Okay.
Mauna ning kuan, Doc, attendance basihan ang evaluation.
No, you have to screenshot and place it in your portfolio.
Okay, thank you po. Pwede na mag-leave, Doc. Thank you po.
Okay.
Dok, yung last meeting, Dok, hindi ko na screenshot yung ano, Dok, attendance. Okay lang. Nakasubmit naman ako ng portfolio po.
Sige.
Thank you po, Dok.
Thank you, Doc.
Yes, welcome.
Okay, thank you po, Doc.
Okay, welcome.